The break-in racing last week was nice, but kind of boring. Time with family glad to have it, but it's all too easy to miss being behind a race car, especially when you're in one racing with a bunch of your close friends. Tonight, though, we're at Monza, the Temple of Speed. It's another track full of racing prestige from the world with the likes of Formula One and the World Endurance Championship. But you're going to see a lot of slipstreaming, drivers drafting behind one another, trying to gain that competitive edge. And once we leave here tonight, though, John, we'll officially be more than halfway through this championship season. Austin Belke, joined by John Hine in the booth with Daniel Costello behind the scenes in the production trailer. John, this track, again, high commitment kind of place, but all about just how much wing you can tune out of these cars to help yourself get down the straightaways.
Yeah, this is a track that these guys are definitely going to get their speed on. This is a fast track. A lot of full throttle time. It's one of my favorite tracks that we visit here, and there's some great passing areas. You know, the chicanes here, and especially coming out of like Parabolica, getting a good run down that long French stretch into that chicane there. I mean, it's going to create some exciting things because when you're carrying these high speeds and you go into these braking zones, if you miss it, you're going to be in trouble real fast.
Some of the weather information and track data on your screen right here. 19 degrees Celsius, 10% humidity, partly cloudy with 8 km/h winds. This track is an amazing one, John. 3.6 miles to get done with 11 turns over the course of a lap. This track it's really fun to race, and it forces these drivers to put their cars right on the ragged edge of control to extract every single ounce of horsepower and time over the course of a lap that they possibly can.
Yes, and trying to trim these cars out as far as what you can, get all that horsepower and match it up with that speed, that straight line speed, make these cars slippery. That in those braking zones, that's going to present a challenge because when they step on those brakes, those cars are going to probably want to get a little light in the back end of these cars, and these guys can get their hands full here pretty quick. But man, I tell you, I think this is going to be one of our better races we've had this season, and that's saying a lot because we've had some good ones so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're not going out on a limb to say that we're going to have some awesome races. I would say you're going on a limb to say it's going to be one of the best ones this season. But this track is just so much fun to race with a bunch of other guys on because it's one of those tracks where it's easy to follow a guy and think that you're faster than him when you go down the straights. But once you get to these corners, there's a lot of room for error in these. It might seem like a simple track, but these chicanes are anything but. You have curbs on the inside, curbs on the outside, and because you're going at such high speeds down the straights, it makes braking for these tight corners all that more important.
Yeah, with very little room to air here for air here when they get in there. Look at that; they're already bumping. This is practice, and they're already bumping each other out of the way through these chicanes. And man, that gonna set the tone, I think, for what we're gonna see here. You know, you've got guys with different talent levels and maybe even a little different setup. So guys that can drive in a little deeper compared to guys that have to break early. Watch for trouble to happen between these two sets of guys. You know, iRacing did a really nice job scanning this track. One of my favorite things about it, they've actually even got the old oval around this track. So this whole Monza complex is just fantastic. You can see the fire trucks and all that. That actually goes out down to the oval. Very cool track, very cool, very historic racetrack.
Yeah, a lot of fans, I think, of racing would be surprised by just how close that big oval is to the road course. If Daniel were to swing that camera the way it was looking about 10 seconds ago, further to the left, that is the oval. And if you were to walk over to that corner and look down about 20 feet, you would see the oval in all of its glory. High bank corners, much like that of Daytona or Talladega, where you don't need to lift. So the amount of racing prestige that's here and just how close it is to, you think back to when race car drivers were true race car drivers, that sometimes you might strap yourself in for a race and you would never get back out of the car. You wouldn't walk away from an accident. That's just how much, this place hasn't changed since we were basically racing around in aluminum tubes in the 50s.
Yeah, well, back then, too, they used both the oval and the road course and combined the two for it, and I think of, like, the old movie Grand Prix with James Gardner to kind of date myself here, but You know, it's just awesome some of the camera shots they had in that of the old course. But these guys are going to stick strictly to the road course here today, and that doesn't mean they're going to be going any less slow because, like we touched on, this is a high-speed course through and through.
No, yeah. I mean, this place is just, it's an absolute blast. It's just like what the drivers in Formula One race on year after year in the Grand Prix that's run here. So there's definitely a lot of racing prestige. And if you're anything like coming from the Formula One games, a Forza Motorsport, or a Gran Turismo, this track is going to be second nature to you. This place is basically a staple in any sort of a racing simulator game, even some of the more arcadey ones as well. This place is just synonymous when you think of fast cars.
Yeah, you know, the cool thing about this too, you know, they don't have the big slipstream, but they can add to what's going on in the braking zone. You got just enough of a toe from somebody and you pull out right at the beginning of a brake zone, you might be able to snooker somebody. I know a lot of people will refer to that to a dive bomb, but you can get it done cleanly. That's gonna, the slipstream might actually create some passing. And in Austin, where was it? Was it Imola? We saw guys bump drafting. I have to think that's gonna come into play here too.
Well, I can't imagine you're wrong, John. I think this place was such a long straightaways that we have. And the guys that are in here, I mean, they're throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. I would not be surprised at all if we see some bump drafting going on between these drivers as the race continues to go on all the way throughout the night. Practice time is winding down, though. We've got about 3 seconds left in that before we'll be able to get you folks at home the official starting grid for tonight's race. There was a qualifying session just a little bit ago, so that's how drivers are going to be lining up. As always, there's the 3 different classes: the pros, then the pro-am, and then the am drivers. Lining up on pole in the pro category, Ethan Bass, been very strong this season. Next to him is Harry Wills, and you've got Kai Dial, another very strong driver. James Pierce snookered a couple wins a couple weeks ago. We'll see if he can get it done tonight. Chase Wilson's going to line up in the top 5. Jeremy Littleton and Kyle Boss round out your 7-car starting field for the pro guys. In the pro-am category, it's a new driver, Mr. Arkaf El Hadid. Lining up in 8th, Shreyas Ventukaraju in 2nd position for that field. Rich Calais 3rd. Christopher Johnson is 4th, followed by Brandon Melling in 5th, and Kyle Smith in the 6th spot. James Nunn, another new driver for this championship, is lined up in 7th with Justin Rousseau in 8th. Blake Scott's going to start in 12th, and Mark Scott rounds out your 10-car starting field for the Pro-Am category. In the Am field, Aaron Beaver's going to line up on pole, followed by Matthew Plaisance in 2nd, but those 2 drivers trading a lot of wins, a lot of fast times, and a lot of pole positions. John Casey in 3rd, Eric Papineau in 4th, Greg Brockway, Eli Sasek round out the 6-car starting field for the Am class.
Yeah, this AM class has been really competitive with those 2 guys, really going back and forth with them here. As pace lap has begun, though, and we're about to get this show on the road.
Yep, we're going to have a 25-minute race. At the end of that, the entire field is going to be inverted, and then we're going to go back to racing for an additional 50 minutes. So 2 races on board for you folks at home, and hopefully we'll have flag-to-flag coverage, no intermission or break between the 2 races, because in between the 2, we're going to talk to any drivers that want to be spoken to. Usually we try to focus on the podium finishers, especially the drivers that bring home the checkered flag. It's always a nice opportunity to talk to anybody that wins one of these races, how elated they are, just how great of a feeling it is to come away in one of these races in World Series leagues with a victory, John.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've seen the in-car as they're crossing the start finish line. You want to talk about some pumped-up drivers crossing their winning races. We've seen it.
iRacing pace car has pulled itself down pit road. Now up to Ethan Bass to start this race for the pro category. It's up to him as long as he gets to the front stretch whenever he wants to start the race. Looks like he's going to do that. Pull away. He's that purple-colored car way over on the right. First driver to get all the way down to this first chicane Lots of opportunities for these guys to outbreak each other, but also outbreak themselves. I can't tell you how many times, especially in simulated racing, and you can see it in real life too, drivers outbreaking themselves, getting all sorts of squirrely as they go into that first chicane. Now it's up to Haddad to start the race for the Pro-Am category. He's got Shreyas Ventukaraju in second place, looking at 3 wide here as they put on the anchors out of their cars, trying to break for this first chicane. One driver making up a lot of spots. That might be James Nunn, newcomer to this league.
And they got through clean too. Remember a couple of years ago where Verstappen and Hamilton had a coming together right there, and Verstappen ended up on Lewis's head.
I really counted that race as kind of a birthday present to me, just the calamity that happened and the craziness. Aaron Beaver, the next across the start-finish line for his category of car. He'll start the AM race. He continues to pull away from the field. I mentioned he and Matthew Plaisance, they've been trading race victories through and throughout this entire season. Matthew Plaisance really strong in the points right now. I have a feeling this is his season. If it's not his, it's got to be Aaron Beaver's. That man has been incredibly fast all season long. Up at the very tip-top front of the field, Ethan Bass is still your overall leader and the leader in the pro category. Harry Wills is still holding on to second. He's got Kai Diel and the rest of his Twisted Racing teammates right now lining up 3rd through 5th. So Twisted Racing pretty much 2nd through the 5th position. All right now trailing though one man. It's the man in the purple car up at the front of the field. Ethan Bass, he's going to come out of the Parabolica turn across the start-finish line to complete lap number 1.
And the laps really don't
right
take,
now.
I was going to say, the laps don't really take a whole lot to click off here. I mean, as from the driver's seat, it goes a lot quicker. But now here's where the braking is going to become more difficult. It's easier to do when you're in a pack. You can slow down with the pack. But when you're lined up or wanting to try to outbrake somebody, this second lap here is where mistakes can start to be made.
Battle for position going on your screen right now. That's Christopher Johnson and Braden Melling. Braden trying to take that position away from Chris Johnson. Ooh, looking to go a little bit outbraking maneuver, trying to see if he can get it done on the inside or on the outside. Shoves the car up the inside to see if he can get it done. Clean pass back for Christopher. Another 2-wide battle going on back there further in the field. I believe that is James Nunn and Kyle Smith. Hard to tell from this distance. They're still side by side though as they go through turn 3.
Lots of good battles here early on as we just now getting started. To give just a refresher, you know, first race here, we've got 25 minutes and then we're going to be followed by a longer 50-minute race. So a lot of racing on tap here tonight from the incredible Monza auto. I guess we have an accident. Our producer's informing us here. Carl Smith has found some trouble.
Yeah, Kyle Smith looks like he just put a tire a bit wrong there. Should get replay here in a second. That's a lot of time though, further up in the field. Oh, one car going off track there pretty wide. Looks like they managed to get back on there. Blake Scott trying to look up the inside there of Chris Johnson. Not quite going to be able to make it happen. And of course, John, you mentioned just how much these drivers can get that slipstream going down the straightaways and how much speed that can gain a driver. If you can get a draft from a guy, you can also get the benefits of having dirty air in some of these corners. Some of these, you know, the first chicane, it's an extremely slow corner compared to the rest of the track, but you talk about the Lesmos, you talk about Ascari, you talk about Parabolica, all those corners are very, very high pace compared to the rest of the track, high speed, lots of opportunities to get that downforce either applied to your car with clean air or taken away from your car if you have any sort of a draft going on. And when that happens, that's less grip overall. These cars start to slide around a lot more than you'd expect.
Oh, absolutely. And especially through the Ascari, that is such a high speed chicane. That's actually where I think most of the mistakes are going to happen at. I know for myself, man, I've been dipped more than one occasion going through that right through here, this section here.
I've been
excuse me, that's not this, sorry.
Yeah, and Ascari and myself, in fact, the last time I was here doing a World Series League event at Monza, we saw a lot of drivers having a ton of problems in Ascari. Ascari is the, for you folks at home that might not be as akin to Monza Speedway, that is the left, right, left, sort of that mid-track chicane just before that long back straightaway. We'll see if we can't point it out on your screens when we get there. Drivers right now going through Parabolica on your screen. Of course, that's the Pearl field. That's Bass, Wills, and Kai DL. Those first three drivers have broken away from the rest of the pack by quite a decent amount of time. You can see all split between themselves by about 2 or 3 tenths respectively, and then about 2 seconds back to James Pierce. Replay here, John Casey. This is going in the Lesmos. Oh man, just lost the rear end of the car there in the second of the Lesmos. So easy to do, John. It's one of those corners you really have to nail to make sure you get down that straightaway as fast as you can going to Ascari, so really can't blame him for that. And especially with these cars, you want to make sure you get down these straightaways as fast as possible. That means peeling all the downforce off the rear wing that you can't. Oh, there goes James Pierce around in the second chicane. No idea how all the drivers kept it off of him. He'll get that car spun, turn around, and point it back in the right direction.
I was about to say, you better be careful not to damage that car going over those sausages getting back onto the track, too. Those are some serious sausages over there.
Yeah, for you folks at home that aren't aware, if you hit one of those curbs just right, you catch a whopping amount of air. There was actually a last year in real life, an Aston Martin, I believe it was a GT3 car, hit one of the sausage curbs in Ascari and went flying about 1 story up into the air. That car was absolutely destroyed. Wide battle. This is Greg Brockway and Eric Papineau. This is for the 4th spot. This one to Greg Brockway for right now. Awesome camera angle going into that first chicane there, Daniel.
Yeah, this is a good little battle here. And, you know, going back to that incident a second ago, going through the Lesmos, the one thing about that is it looked like he caught too much of that inside curve in that last part of the going through the Lesmos there. And the thing is about those is you pick up so much time by kind of cutting that corner, but it can bite you just as quickly as it gives you time.
Oh, Blake Scott. Looks like a replay involving him. This is going into Ascari. Oh, just lost it a little bit. Really easy to do. Trying to grab too much of the curve.
Yeah, and he made some contact, some pretty good, significant contact there, but looks like the front of that car is going to be okay, I think.
Yeah, he's definitely got some damage. Whoa, a little bit of side-by-side contact going on there between Brandon Melling. I believe that's Mark Scott he was fighting with.
Getting a little argy-bargy in the chicanes. That's some good racing there. But I'm sure the two that are bumping into each other probably don't think so. But fun for us anyway.
Yeah, taking a look at the entries tab. No meatball flag there. So it looks like that BMW is not critically damaged for right now. Good news for Blake.
You know, the one thing I do like about this track too is they're circling here. You know, there's a lot of tracks that you can go to that I don't want to say it becomes so repetitious, but because of the speeds and the corners are so quick, it's really tough to get a rhythm here because you're in and out of most of these corners. About the only corner that I think that you can kind of get a rhythm to hit almost perfect every time is Parabolica. The other ones, you know, it's really, really tough to be perfect every time to get the rights and the left. Maybe where you're braking and getting off the gas, that's easy enough to get into a rhythm, but I don't know about you, Austin, but every time, you know, like I said, both the chicanes and even through the Lesmos, it's just, for whatever reason, for me anyway, just tough to get that rhythm going.
I couldn't agree more, John. I think Parabolica, because it's such a wide open corner and all the braking markers are a lot closer to the car, I think it's just a lot easier for a driver to get their rhythm in that spot of the track. And I know at least most of the chicanes, the first two for sure, are extremely difficult to get your rhythm down. It seems like every time I go in there, I'm on the ragged edge, and it doesn't feel like I'm going to come out the other end of them. I will say, though, Ascari, once you nail Ascari once or twice, you can kind of just keep going through there. And it's always just one of those corners where I feel like the less I try to really nail it, the faster I go through that section of corners. The Lesmos, the same way as the chicanes. I really don't know what I'm doing through that part of the track. It's just sort of like, I hope I make it.
Yeah, and I think part of what my issue is here, and I kind of, well, I'll be asking a couple of the drivers that we talked to, visually, going through these sets of chicanes, with the exception of the first chicane, which is a really slow and really tight, but all the other chicanes on the track all visually look the same, but they don't drive the same. Now, you and I come from the oval world where, you know, you've got two corners that look the same, but they don't drive the same. And you see, I feel like this track, you feel a lot of the same going through these chicanes here.
Yeah, I can tell you too. I mean, I like to consider myself at least a decently accomplished road course racer. You do have to remind yourself multiple times a lap of what kind of corner you're going into, because the chicanes, like you said, John, even the Lesmos as well, they look very similar, they feel very similar, but you have to drive them very differently. The Lesmos especially, because one of those corners is more of an acute angle and one of them is a little bit more of an obtuse angle, so you cannot possibly drive both those corners the same and expect to get similar results or even be on the fast pace that some of these drivers continue to pump out each and every lap. I mean, look at Ethan Bass and Harry Wills. Those two drivers still separated by 0.2 of a second. Harry Wills is really hounding Ethan right now, but they've pretty much cleared the rest of the pack by 3 seconds, 3 entire seconds back to Kai DL. He's got 2 seconds back to Kyle Boss, Chase Wilson, an additional second behind. And it's the same kind of thing going down deeper in the field. Matthew Plaisance and Aaron Beaver are about 2 seconds separated from one each other. Eli Sasick 6 seconds behind them in the AM category. In the Pro-Am category, Haddad's got a 2-second lead over Mark Scott. Mark's got a 1-second gap back to Rich Calais. So things are really starting to spread out here at the middle point of this race.
Yes, they are, but that battle for the lead, though, the overall race lead and the pro lead here is really starting to heat up. Harry Wills is not giving Ethan Bass any kind of reprieve here. He is all over the back. This is a great battle here.
I'll be really interested to see if we get to the opportunity to talk to both of these guys, if this is kind of their limit, or if Ethan thinks that Harry might be being helped along down these long straightaways by the fact he can stick in that draft. We're going to be able to find out, though, in just a second. Harry's going to poke his nose down to the inside as they head toward turn 1. Tries to outbrake him. Looks like he's going to get the space. They're going to leave each other a lot of space. That's some good
heads-up racing. Lot of respect there. That is outstanding to see that.
So Ethan Bass is going to retake that position back. He's still going to remain in the lead. I'll be curious to see once Harry passes Ethan, if he does, if he can pull away. I'm really curious to see which one of these cars is more kind of winged out to go faster down these long straightaways. And I feel like, John, for right now, you can disagree, but I feel like right now Ethan has his car, you know, more kind of trimmed out for top speed, and Harry's car is more trimmed out for downforce, and I think that's why Harry's able to stay with him in the corners with all that dirty air, and then continues to get pulled along down these long straights. I think Ethan's just doing a good job of punching that hole in the air for him, and Harry's doing a good job to stay right up on his back bumper to maximize that draft.
I think you might be right. And, you know, one of the things here, he almost outbraked him and going into Harry almost outbraked Bass going into that chicane. And I think he could probably mess with his bias a little bit, his brake bias, and maybe get a little bit better on the, you know, brake just a little bit different to try to get that pass. But I think you could be right. And if Wills ends up getting around him and Bass stays right with him, and I think that'll prove your point here. And, well, look at that defensive line down the front stretch here that Bass takes.
Yeah, he's going to start serpentining that car around just to make sure that Harry really makes sure that he's alongside
Here
him
we
and
go
has
again.
enough overspeed to do it. Is this a repeat of what we saw last lap? We'll see if Harry puts the car in any deeper. He does indeed. A little bit of contact is made at the apex. Harry had a really difficult time putting that power down. All the way that Mercedes is at the front end of the car. Advantage there to Ethan Bass. That Ford has the engine in the rear, so he's got even more weight over that rear axle. More weight means more grip. With that speed, of course, you're not power limited. It's all about the limit in terms of traction. Dead even as they head towards the second chicane. Ethan Bass on the inside for the first turn. Harry Wills on the inside for the second turn. Harry trying to make sure he could keep that car to the inside for the two Lesmos. Not quite able to do it.
This is just absolutely fantastic between these two. And while they're fighting, Kai DL is slowly reeling those guys in.
Yeah, he's been doing a good job of running these two guys down. So has Kyle Boss, in fact, as well. Harry Wills once again all the way up to the back bumper of Ethan Bass. Going now through Ascari. And of course, when you have, two drivers like this kind of pushing each other to go faster and faster, this is when you start to make mistakes. I'm not saying that these guys are some of the best in these cars on these type of tracks. So I don't expect to see mistakes, but if any were to be made, it's in situations just like this.
Now I can't get over this. Now these guys, Harry Wills is going to have to start thinking about playing defense a little bit here. If these guys continue to close in on them. But now we got, look at this.
Yeah, another two-wide battle here between Kyle Boss and Kai DL, side by side. That's for the third position as they try to outbreak each other going into turn one. Oh, Kai, yeah, he cleared himself, but Kai wanted to make sure that he didn't.
Yeah, that was a little nudge, a friendly nudge on the way by, just to say, okay.
Really slow there, going into the first of the two Lesmos. Looks like that car is still in one piece, so he likely just got loose there coming out of the that first chicane. Really easy to do that. Looks like Kyle Boss has gotten around Kai DL, so there's a new driver now on that last step of the podium.
Well,
so no longer does Harry Wills have a teammate behind him.
Yeah, and Boss has put a little bit of distance between he and DL. I kind of wonder almost if DL didn't have a little bit of a slip up there. I mean, he's almost put a second on him in a lap here.
Yeah, it's either that or, Kyle Smith has a meatball. He's been on pit road for quite some time, it looks like. It's a replay. James Pierce in his Twisted Racing Lamborghini. This is going through Ascari. Just got the car a little bit too wide. It's extremely hard to save the car at that point. Goes into a lazy spin. Got up over the curbs, and the car just did not like that very much. That's what said, just a lazy spin there. Yeah, so with easy to do as well.
He did pop a barrier, so it looked like he kind of towed really quick there.
Yeah. Here's a replay for Kyle Smith in just a couple seconds. We'll see if Harry Wills makes a move. He isn't gonna. It's the replay with what happened to Kyle Smith is to put his BMW on pit road.
Huh, that's a replay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost carbon copy with a lot more damage.
Almost the Code Brown there moment. I think that was Blake Scott. And it's so easy to do that there too, John. Walk the viewers at home through what's going on there. Let's do that first. Is you're coming out of Ascari. There's a long straightaway after Ascari, and that's the final of the left chicane. That's the final corner. You're trying to bring the car out as wide as possible to maximize your track space, really open up that wheel and start to put the power down. And you just try to open the wheel a little bit too wide, and you go, oh, shoot, there's sand over there. Try to take that wheel back to the left, and that's when that rear end just really gives out on you, and the car spears around and into the fence.
Yeah, and the thing is, exiting Ascari, you can pick the throttle up, really, as we see him come in here. Right around here, it wants you to really pick the throttle up, because you can maximize. You look there, you see him a little bit off the racing surface, But if you push it just a little too far and clip that curb coming out of there, we saw it 2 times in a row right there, trouble will happen in a quick hurry.
Coming out of Parabolica, this time by will be just shy of 5 minutes to go left in this race. You've still got a little bit over 5 minutes left here. So this is, if you're Harry Wills, you got to be thinking about what can I possibly do in these last 5 minutes? Do I have any tricks left up my sleeve? This is riding on board, looking out the rear end of the Ethan Bass machine through his rear wing there. Harry Wills tries to throw the car up the inside. Ethan not having of it. That was an extremely good defense of that line there for Ethan.
Absolutely, and I think you hit the nail on the head a little bit earlier. I think Ethan's car might be just a little bit more trimmed out, or maybe a little better in the air, clean air, than what Wills is here.
These guys, again, I mean, no mistakes from either of them. You'd figure at one point or another somebody would slip up and lose a second and then have to gain back that time, or, you know, the lead would swap back and forth. But Ethan has been doing a whale of a job, and this is one of those situations, John, where as the leader, you just need to run your race, run your line, maybe check your rearview mirror as you go down these straights, but otherwise, keep your eyes out the windshield.
Keep them out the windshield and keep your foot on the floor. I mean, that's kind of racetrack this is. And man, these two, I mean, this has just been, I mean, I know we usually like to kind of follow around the field, but this has been the battle almost. These two have been nose to tail now, what, 15 minutes, 20 minutes? This is incredible.
Yeah, 15 minutes at the very least. The second closest battle, and again, for those of you folks at home, that don't know too much about the scoring pylon on the left-hand side of your screen, if the interval between two cars is in white text, it's more than a second. If it's in yellow text, it's between a half a second and 1 second. And if it's in the orange text, it is less than a half a second. So you can see when battles start to get hot, they look hot on the left-hand side there. That's why you can see, for the most part, lots of white text there on the left-hand side of the screen. You can see a lot of drivers really starting to distance themselves from one another. The other closest battle we have on the track at the moment is still this battle for the last podium spot between Kyle Boss and Kai DL.
Yeah, DL has reeled them up here a little bit, but not a whole lot. And with time running out here, I mean, you're talking now, we're 22 minutes into here, and I'm thinking now we're in the last maybe couple, 2-3 laps of this race. So if you've got something for whoever's in front of you, whether it be for the lead or back here for this third and fourth position, you better put your plan to action now.
Another battle kind of shaping up here towards the tail end of the race is between the two Twisted Racing teammates, Chase Wilson in his Lamborghini and Jeremy Littleton in his Ferrari. Two drivers right now racing to take the last spot in the top 5. Overall leaders just got through the Ascari chicane. I would highly expect for them to get the white flag this next time by, but we'll keep you folks at home posted just in case. They've been running about 1 minute 47 lap time, so they'll be pretty close in terms of whether they get the white flag or not. Looks like they will be showing it this time by.
And for Ethan, I think this is where the nerves go up, because he knows he's just got to bring it back around one more time, no mistakes. And he is putting a little bit of distance now on the second place car of Harry Wills here, so he's got a little breathing room.
Yeah, be curious.
Look at this.
Whoa.
Whoa.
This is some intense battle going down the front stretch into turn 1.
Wow, those are teammates.
Hey, a point's a point, John. You want to make sure you can get all the points you can, and these two drivers definitely have that motto going through their heads right now. Harry Wills, though, getting, again, extremely close to Ethan Bass. If he's going to make anything happen in the closing moments of this race, it's going to have to come either now, maybe the next couple corners. Otherwise, this victory is as good as gone for Harry.
Oh, Harry got, yeah, right there, really got off the track.
he's giving it everything he's got right now. That's the furthest I've seen any car go off track and continue to remain at race speed. We continue to see that battle on the left-hand side. The battle on the right-hand side of the screen is the last spot on the podium. Kyle Boss in the Mercedes, Kai DL in the Twisted Racing Lamborghini. Harry Wills continues to try and see if he can't stalk Ethan Bass. We'll see if he can make anything happen as they go into Parabolica.
It almost looks like he's got a run here coming into Parabolica. I'll be interested to see does he pull out. There he is.
Gonna pull out. Oh, not quite late enough on the brake or hard enough to get that move complete. Ethan Bass is still going to hold the lead as they come off Parabolica for the last time in our 25-minute sprint race. Pop the champagne, wave the checkered flag. Victory here at Monza for Ethan Bass. Harry Wills is going to finish in the second spot. The last spot on the podium goes to Kyle Boss. Kai DL fourth. Jeremy Littleton in fifth, and Chase Wilson in sixth.
Yeah, I wonder what the conversation at Twisted Motorsports after the what we just saw down the straightaway there just a second ago. I mean, I'm sure those guys are having fun. I mean, you gotta, if you're gonna drive like that, you probably trust your competition, because man, that was pretty wild to watch.
First start in the Pro-Am category here for the World Series leagues from Ekraf Al-Haddad. He gets his first victory as well. Mark Scott did a good job to close in on the lead there. Not quite close enough. He'll have to settle for the second position. Melling and then Rich Calais for right now. Looking here at Aaron Beaver. He's the first car that's going to cross the start-finish line in the AM category. 7 seconds back to Matthew Plaisance, the first car, the closest car to him in his category. He'll get the win in the AM. Matthew Plaisance just now crossing the start-finish line. Eli Sasek in third. Good run for Plaisance and Sasek. Boy, John, that was an exciting race. I'm surprised just how close the battle was between Ethan Bass and Harry Wills all the way to the end. That was some incredible racing.
Yeah, it really, really was. And those guys, 25 minutes mistake-free. I mean, that's really what that came down to. Both those guys, I mean, Harry threw everything but the kitchen sink at him, and absolutely no mistake. So, I don't know. Ethan was being a bit of an iceman there. Just did not crack under pressure at all. Stayed cool as you can be.
Now turning our eyes to the results pages. In the pro category, it was Ethan Bass taking victory over Harry Wills and Kyle Boss to round out the podium. Kai DL comes home in fourth, followed by Jeremy Littleton, Chase Wilson, and James Pierce, fifth, sixth, and seventh. In the Pro-Am category, the race was won by Ekraf Al-Haddad. Again, it's his first race in this league here. Another Twisted Racing Team driver, Mark Scott in second. Brandon Melling in third. Rich Calais fourth. Christopher Johnson rounds out the top five, followed by James Dunn sixth. Shreyas Ventukaraju in seventh. Not the run that Shreyas was expecting. He started the race so well. Second in the category, Blake Scott eighth. Justin Rousseau ninth. Kyle Smith in 10th. In the AM category, Aaron Beaver once again takes home the checkered flag, followed by Matthew Plaisance. A strong second position finish for him. Eli Sasek rounds out the podium with John Casey and Greg Brockway rounding out the top five. Eric Papineau finishes in the sixth spot. Now we'll go ahead and bring up the championship standings to this point in the season. And again, this is coming. No, interviews first. All right. All right, we're going to go ahead and bring Brandon Melling in here. Brandon, strong run for you. Finished on the podium in the first race of tonight. You gained 3 spots since the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, it was a tough race to say for sure. There's a lot of intricacies with the Ford driving around this track where just trying to keep it under control can be difficult, and picking up some damage around lap 5 too, that just made my life a lot more difficult as well.
This track is one of those where the rear tires can start to kind of fail you as the race goes on because you're really just trying to mash the gas as soon as possible to make sure you get a good run down these long straightaways. How did the car feel in the rear as the race went on, especially with the, I'm assuming, lack of wing you've got on these things?
Well, in all honesty, the rear actually felt pretty consistent throughout the entire race. Like I never really felt that the rear end was going. I think that might have also been down to me having to drive a bit more carefully as well because again, that damage I picked up, it gave me some wheel damage. I don't know what the extent of it was. My steering wheel was still straight, but I could definitely feel it a little bit in the corners.
Certainly, any kind of learning opportunities you can take from this one to now doubling this race length for the second event.
I mean, to be honest, it's just trying to play it safe and consistent because Monza is one of those tracks where it can give and take a lot, especially with those long straightaways. Like you make a mistake getting onto those and you're basically down for the entire straight.
Definitely, John and I talked about that a couple times throughout the course of the race. Brading, hopefully we get another opportunity to talk to you later in the night after the second race, but let's just knock it out right now. Is there anyone you want to thank for your third place run, man?
Well, obviously, I gotta thank the team. You know, we're always supporting each other, working together, trying to get the most performance we can out of these vehicles. I got to give a shout out to our partners, Grip Engineering and Skyline Designs. They do great work helping us with setups and paints for the vehicles. And yeah, also got to give a shout out to obviously the family for supporting me in doing this.
Definitely. Well, congratulations on your podium finish. Hopefully we get another opportunity to talk to you tonight, but thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, hopefully there's another podium for me in me.
That was Brendan Milling, finished second in the Pro-Am category. And Jonathan, you've now caught up with Matthew Plaisance, who finished second in the AM race.
I have. Matthew, this is John. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, my friend, one down, one to go here. And, you had a pretty decent run here at the beginning, this one here. And how do you plan on doubling up here and continuing your hot streak?
Even less rear wing. No, I had nothing for him. Even riding in his slipstream, he still was pulling away from me. He just had so much grunt in that Mercedes. I had nothing.
Well, you mentioned taking some of that rear wing out, was which we like to refer as trimming the car out a little bit. How do you think that's going to affect your corner entry here? Are you prepared to change your brake points, or walk us through, what that will affect outside the straight line speed?
Yeah, I just have to be a little more, just even more gentle and careful if I can, because more than likely it's probably going to cause me to crash because I haven't raced with the amount of wing I'm going to run next round. So just going to pray and hopefully it works and I can actually keep up this time.
All right, now Matthew, when you call your shot, it's supposed to be for great things, hitting the home run or winning the next race. But saying I might wreck,
Hey, I'm just trying to manage expectations here.
There you go. Okay,
Calling a shot, John.
I guess we'll call that a shot. One last question I have for you, because we talked a little bit about it. Every one of these corners sets you up for long, open throttle time with these long straightaways we have here. What do you put more importance on, being able to break into the corners or launching out of the corners? What is more difficult to do out of the two? Because if you mess one or the other up, it can really just kill your whole lap time.
Yeah, finding that balance, because I tend to try to push too hard into the corner. I think that's just a bad habit that I've been trying to work out, and I was working at it a little bit with this one, and if it's going to be much the same next race, that's all I'm going to focus on, is just trying to maximize the exit, just for those super long straights, because it's a killer if you can't stay in the slip.
Absolutely. Well, we'll enjoy watching you here the next time. Hopefully we get to talk to you again and you haven't binned it somewhere. So
Hopefully.
Who would you like to give a shout out to for a good start to the night for you?
I'll just give a shout out to our sponsors, Skyline Designs and Grip Engineering, always helping out, and they do great.
Well, awesome, buddy. Well, hopefully, like I said, we talk to you a little bit later on, and good luck here in the second race. And Austin, Who have you caught up with?
Hey, John, I think I've caught up with Kai DL. Yeah, Kai, pretty strong run there to start off the night. Didn't finish on the podium, one spot short of it in the fourth position, but you had quite the battle there with Kyle Bost in the closing minutes.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you to Twisted for having me on for another year. But yeah, the U.S. series, we started out, I think, third for qualifying, and we just got done our first race. I thought I was going to be able to keep third for a while, but then looking at my relative, I saw that Kyle was actually closing the gap more and more. I did the EU race already, so I kind of knew that the BMW, well, not the BMW, the Mercedes, and surprisingly the Ford have a extreme advantage at speed for on the straightaway. So I tried the best I could to hold off the line, but got a slowdown penalty, and I just couldn't bring it back from there. Just too much dirty air coming off the front of my car. Couldn't get it turned in, and I just didn't have the pace. Those things were just absolute rocket ships on the straightaway.
Well, you talk about the Mercedes having a little bit more of that top-end speed going down the straights, but for a while there, it looked like you were a lock to come home with the third position. In fact, you were kind of keeping up with your teammate Harry and leader Ethan for a long time at the beginning of this race. Did the handling of the car start to go away? Did you kind of get all the good out of the tires too early?
No, I think I looked after tires pretty good. I honestly, I don't think there was really much I could do. Like from taking for what I know in the EU series, like the AMG and the BMW, well, not the BMW, the Ford are extremely quick. I think maybe I pushed it a little bit too much when I got Kyle behind me, but other than that, he would have been behind me the rest of the race, and I would have to put some hard defending moves, especially on that car that has extreme straightaway speed. So I think I would have lost that race, but I maybe could have tried. But now I'm just gonna go into race 2 and see what I can do, and if not, then use this race as a just to get some points towards the championship.
Yeah, definitely. No, completely understand there. So, Kai, as you go now into the second race, are there changes you intend to make on your car? I know you said you ran the EU race earlier. Anything you learned from those kind of playing into the races going later into tonight?
Not really much. I'm not going to change setup. I'm just going to keep it the way it is, just try to survive. But I guess I am, for the first couple laps, going to try to cross my fingers and see if they take each other out.
For sure. Yeah. Hey, you know what? A win's a win, man. You'll take it any way you can. Kai, before I let you go, I want to make sure you get a chance to thank your people.
First of all, I'd just like to say thank you to Twisted, and I would just say thanks to my mom and dad.
For sure, keeping it short and sweet. Kai, hopefully we get another opportunity to talk to you later on tonight, but if not, best of luck in the next race, buddy.
Thank you very much.
That was Kai DL, comes home fourth position in the first of the 2 races tonight. We'll see if he can cut his finishing position in half while he doubles the race distance. John, talking to a lot of the drivers, it really seems like they are keen on finishing better, like they should be, unless you're Matthew Plaisance. He's kind of up in the air when you were talking to him. But no surprise, this track is extremely tricky to navigate.
It is, and you know, like you touched on, and I said, you know, getting into these corners, getting out of these corners, it sets you up for the next section of the track. And unfortunately, each section of the track is high speed. Basically, you mess anything up, it just sinks you. And you know, it was interesting. A couple of the guys talking about car makes having advantages and stuff like that. Well, one of the ways you can overcome that is trimming the car out. That's what I'm going to look for in this second race. How many guys like Matthew, who talked about taking some wing out, how many guys are going to push that envelope and maybe even push it just a little too far and get themselves in trouble?
Yeah, I mean, because it is so demoralizing as a race car driver. You want that unfair advantage. You always want to be beating the field by as much as you can, time in and time out, week in, week out, every single race that you can. So when you've got your foot to the floor and you know you nailed the exit of that last corner and somebody else comes by you and just passes you like you're standing still, boy, it's aggravating, it's demoralizing, it just sucks overall. So I would not be too surprised if we see a lot of cars handling a lot more ill-willed towards these drivers because they've tried to take a lot of the grip out of these things and try to get them a little bit more slippery to prepare themselves for the high-speed straightaways of Monza.
Absolutely. You know, you hit the nail on the head. You know, race car drivers by nature are greedy, and you take somebody that's has that greed and you blow by them. They're going to take some chances to probably try to rectify that situation.
For sure. Well, John, it looks like we can now take a look at our championship standings heading into tonight's race. This is not, again, just want to repeat that, does not include the 25-minute sprint race that you just saw wrap up. This is a points pre-Monza. Harry Wills up at the top of the leaderboard. He's got a 5-point lead over Ethan Bass. Then it's another Twisted Racing team member, Kai Dale, Chase Wilson, Kyle Boss rounds out the top 5. Good to see James Pierce here again tonight, getting himself a good amount of points in the top 9. In the Pro-Am category, Rich Calais still leads the points. He's actually tied with Blake Scott, and then it's a big distance back to Shreyas Ventukaraju. He's about 30 points behind those two drivers. Justin Rousseau rounds out the top 5. Good to see Brandon Melling there. Talked to him a couple minutes ago in his number 8 car. He should get a lot of good points coming out of tonight. And last but not least, in the AM category, no surprise to see this one dominated by the two drivers that continue to dominate the races week in and week out. Matthew Plaisance has an 8-point lead over Aaron Beaver. John Casey rounds out the top 3 with Rick Swan in 4th, Greg Brockway in 5th. Eli Sasek, 8th place coming into tonight in the point standings. He should leave here with a good amount of points, having a couple strong runs here. We'll hope for his sake.
The cool thing is we got some tight point battles, and you know what? We've got a lot of racing left this season too. So like you touched on, we're just a little bit over halfway here, and man, I tell you, a lot of things up for grabs still.
Yeah, and these guys are racing for some pretty cool stuff as well. Stuff from our sponsors. I'd like to take a quick second and thank them. Firstly, Race Anywhere. They're a major distributor of sim racing products based in the UK, specializing in some of the highest quality sim racing brands like ProSimU, OBP, GSI, and Go for the Gap. Kemi Sturge, she's an up-and-coming motorsport graphic design and artwork creator. She has an Etsy page. She's got stuff from Formula One, Grand Touring stuff from back in the day, even with the endurance racing, all the way up to NASCAR. Tons of stuff, IndyCar included. You name it, she's got it. Check it out. Lots of cool stuff if you got some blank space on your wall. And last but not least, IMB Racewear. They are an absolutely great company. They offer a huge range of bespoke, no limits, fully customizable race and team wear for an entire lineup of their product range. You can check out their website. The link to that is in the description down below. Lots of cool stuff. Sponsors that help this league go on, and of course the league admins that help run this entire thing. There's a lot of moving parts that you have to put together to make this show go on. And how about Daniel Costello continues to bring us these fantastic camera angles tonight, side by side going on again. You might be wondering what happened to all the fantastic onboard camera angles that we've been having throughout this entirety of the season. Zoom was having a little bit of a bad day today, so no such real-life cameras on all the drivers, but hopefully we can get those back next week because they're one of my favorite parts about the broadcast.
Mine too. I always like watching the intensity and the celebrations actually coming across the start finish line of really, well, I think last week, I forgot who it was, but I mean, they almost jumped out of their seat when they crossed that start finish line to take a win. It was very cool to see that.
Looking here at Ref El Haddad. And another one of our drivers, Twisted Racing team member, new add to the team, new add to this league as well. Grabbed his first checkered flag in his first race here in the World Series leagues. And can't imagine a better place to do that than at Monza.
Well, yeah, anytime you can take a win at a historic racetrack, whether it be Daytona, Indianapolis, Monza, Silverstone, you know, the list can go on, and you know, those crown jewel tracks, they're far and few between, but snagging a win there is just always cool, whether it be in the sim or the real world. One of my first iRacing wins that I ever had came in a truck at Daytona, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Oh, a win at Daytona is something to absolutely be treasured. John, as the time ticks down in the practice, these drivers have 10 minutes to join the session and get whatever practice time in they want before the actual race starts to begin. 50 minutes, twice the length of the race we had earlier on in tonight. There is a pit stop that all these drivers need to do for fuel. So we should see these guys have to come in to make their pit stop at least once during the race. The question then is, do you pit early? Do you pit late? I'll be really curious to see which drivers choose what as the night goes on and progresses. Are you kind of baited in to pitting early or late by what the drivers around you are doing, or do you just kind of stay out there and mind your own business? Lots of opportunities as well to save fuel drafting behind some other guys, and of course, any fuel you save, less fuel you have to put back into these race cars.
Yeah, I would say
Learning.
that saving would be big here in this next one, but we got the starting grid here.
Yep, James Pierce, by virtue of finishing at the bottom part of the field last race, he's going to start on the pole. He's got Chase Wilson starting to his left. Jeremy Littleton starts in third, followed by Kai Deal in fourth. Kyle Boss starts in fifth with Harry Wills in sixth. And because he won, he gets the grand prize of starting dead last in the pro field. That's Ethan Bass. In the Pro-Am category, Kyle Smith lines up first with Justin Rousseau in second. Blake Scott lines up in third, followed by Shreyas Ventukaraju in fourth. Shreyas looking to bounce back from a not the best finish in the 25-minute sprint race. James Nunn in fifth, newcomer to this league. Christopher Johnson in sixth with Rich Calais in seventh. Braden Melling in eighth. Mark Scott and Crefwell Haddad round out the top 10 drivers in the Pro-Am category. In the AM category, Eric Papineau finished last in the field, so he gets to start on pole. Greg Brockway is going to start in second, followed by John Casey in third, with Eli Sasick in fourth. And then it's the two men that continue to dominate this division. Matthew Plaisance rolls off in the fifth spot, followed by Aaron Beaver, who rolls off tail end of this field in sixth. John, I'm going to be really curious to see, especially in this pro category, between Harry Wills and Ethan Bass, which one of those two drivers can navigate up through the field faster than the other. Same thing going on for our AM category, and I'll be really interested to see just how much of a handful Matthew Plaisance's car is now that he's taken a lot more of that rear wing out of it.
Yeah, and keep in mind with this invert, we got the faster cars in the back. So when we get to these braking zones, into these chicanes, that should be a lot more interesting because guys are going to be braking earlier at the front of the pack than I think the guys at the back have been used to.
iRacing pace car pulls down pit road. James Pierce fully unleashes his car and those of the field behind him. He's got Chase Wilson to the left and then Jeremy Littleton behind him. Now to his right as you see all the cars start to fan out and then get closer and closer to single file as they break for this first chicane. All is calm so far. All the drivers getting through that first chicane clean. In the Pro-Am category, it's Kyle Smith who leads the field to the green. He's got Justin Rousseau to his right. He finally puts his foot on the loud pedal and starts to scoot away from the rest of this pack. You see them too wide for right now. We'll see if anybody wants to try and dip it to the left or to the right, make it 3 wide as they all throw the anchors out of their cars to break for this first chicane here. Almost some argy-barginess going on between some of the drivers, just trying to make sure everything gets... Whoa,
we got one around.
Sideways. That's Christopher Johnson, it looks like, John.
Yeah, it looks like he got a little help there, but as soon as he started going around, it looked like somebody hit him again and kind of straightened him out. But, oh, man, tough start to the race for Christopher Johnson there.
Eric Papineau leads the AM field into the first chicane. He's got Greg Brockway just behind him. Keep your eyes on those two drivers at the tail end of this field. They're going to absolutely see if they can't try to fly through everybody right off the bat. Eli Sasek seeing if he can go around the outside of John Casey. He'll have the inside into this first part of the second chicane. We'll see if he grabs the position. If John Casey can hold on resolutely to the outside, he's going to have the inside. Oh, that looked like Eric Papineau going a little bit wide in that second chicane, and he has towed his car.
Yeah, he was sitting stopped there, and a lot of chaos
in this car. It's not what you want to do.
Someone's going to have to remind these guys, there's 48 minutes left in this race yet.
You can remind them, John. I don't really think they care. They continue to go too wide through the chicane. Again, this is in the pro category. Harry Wills trying to see if he can't sign his way up through the field, and I think this is going to be the hardest opponent he's had to pass so far. Another Mercedes. You heard talking to Matthew Plaisance and Kai Diel. The Mercedes power in these cars, so slippery in the air. Lots of top line speed for these two cars. It's going to be a difficult pass down the straights for Harry.
I'm just mesmerized by all the action here this first couple of laps. These guys are definitely trying to get things done, and I mean now is the best time when everybody packed up. I mean, your opportunity for gaining the positions here, this is the time to do it, because once everybody gets strung out, passing does become a little bit more difficult, but you're also, you can lose ground to guys up in the lead, and 50 minutes in the grand scheme of things is not a whole lot. Oh, look at the big wreck.
Whoa, there's a couple cars facing the wrong direction, having to dodge a lot of that. You see Rich Calais making his way through there. It looks like Justin Rousseau, hard impact, both ends of that car. James Nunn, another driver involved. Not the kind of start you want to have in your first 50-minute race with this league, and it looks like he's going to have to tow that car. Bad damage on the rear axle.
Man, that is a tough way to start. Especially after especially after having a first race, and if you had, you felt like you did some good things and you're looking forward to the other. You talked about things that are deflating. Getting into an incident, first couple minutes of, a race, that is very, very deflating.
Yeah, it sure is. And just like we've seen time and time again in real life, especially in Formula One, even if a driver has an extremely fast car out in the front of the field, you put them back in the pack and it becomes insanely hard for them to make any sort of moves to make up positions towards the end of this race. To dig back to Valtteri Bottas many times here in Formula One. This is a replay of what went on. You're going to see Christopher Johnson in his Ferrari. Oh, this is what happened to James Nunn. I assume they were related incidents. James Nunn just got tagged there by Rick Calais going into that second chicane. Daniel, could we get a look at, I believe that was Christopher Johnson there, who wrecked after the chicane. That was a horrific wreck.
And that's a product, like I said, of having these slower guys up front that maybe break a little bit earlier behind guys that are used to driving in a little bit deeper. And it is already causing havoc here early on.
Yeah, well, you completely invert the field. These guys are not used to racing each other at this track today. So even though these guys are used to racing with each other at other tracks on other nights, you come here and everybody's braking points are just a little bit different. And some guys kind of can overestimate or underestimate how much earlier or later they have to brake given the draft or clean air that they'll have on the front end of that car, especially, any sort of draft you have kind of just melts itself right into dirty air. Gonna get a quick replay here of Justin Rousseau. This is in the sky, it looks like. But no, this is the second chicane, and there you see him getting spun there. Boy, that was a horrific one. Lots of cars involved.
Yeah, tough trip to Monza for Rousseau.
But you see James Nunn trying to see if he can't get that Lamborghini back to pit road. Elects just to tow the car. Battle going on here. This is for 4th position in the Pro-Am category. Looks like Mark Scott's going to peel away a position there from Mr. Haddad. Beaver. We're getting word from Daniel that he might have had some sort of an incident. Falling back quite a lot.
And he's in the championship fight too. This could be huge for that fight.
Oh yeah, he wrecked. He spun the car out coming out of Parabolica. I guess he just had too much power down and too much wheel in the car and not enough rear wind on the back end of this Mercedes. You're going to see him loop the car right there. Put it into a lazy spin. Virtually impossible to save the car at this speed in this corner. You're either going to nose the thing into the inside wall or nose it into the outside wall like we saw the GOAT, Nicholas Latifi, do last year at Monza. Oh, side by side, that's not a place you want to be forcing a driver off the track. This is between Kai DL and Kyle Boss. Again, these two are the same two drivers that were fighting for the third position in the last race as well. So same deal going on for them. Looks like Ethan Bass has now gotten around Harry Wills. We'll see if Ethan has any better luck making his way up through the field. Maybe kind of picking up where Harry could not.
Got a lot of battles as these guys that won these first races continue to try to move back up through the field. We saw Ethan Bass, you know, really dominate that first race, pretty much led it wire to wire. You know, we saw Wills throw a couple of haymakers at him, but he was able to hang on, and he's only worked his way up to 5th so far.
Again, I think it's the same kind of problem we see that Valtteri Bottas would always have here at Monza. You know, you'd have one of the fastest cars in qualifying get sent to the back of the pack, and it's extremely hard, even with being a faster car, to make up positions here. It's just not an easy place to make passes on. You continue to see that all the way up and down the field. Battle you're watching right now on your screen. Mark Scott and Haddad going back and forth. Scott's going to have the inside as going to this Lesmo. See how well Haddad can hang on to it on the outside. A little bit of RG Barginess there, pushing him wide. I don't think he left him enough space on that one. I'm sure Haddad agrees.
And probably is not very happy. But going back to your point about how it's so difficult to pass here is because, you know, they do a balance of power here in iRacing with these cars. So everybody has about the same top speed. And what is different is depending on how much rear ring you want to do. And I got a feeling all their wing angles are probably pretty close to being about as far trimmed out as what they can be. So having said that, the thing is getting in and out of these chicanes and corners, setting up that next section of the track, because if you mess those up, that's where the passing comes from, because whoever can hit that top speed quicker, those are the guys that are going to benefit the most down these long straightaways.
Yep, hit the nail right on the head there, John. Looking at Brandon Melling. As if you can't race there, Blake Scott side by side as they go down the front stretch. Go ahead, buddy.
I was going to say, this is why we can't have nice things sometimes. These guys are not giving each other any room.
Yeah, these cars are worth a lot of money in real life, and they are just throwing them at each other lap after lap. Surprisingly enough, though, no contact made.
Look at that. Yeah, there you go.
Through the corner, and I don't think Blake was too happy with how Braden was racing him.
No, I don't think so. And if those two catch up and close back up together, that's going to be an interesting battle.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if any sort of a retaliation is made. Looking here at Harry Wills, currently in the 6th position. He's still trailing Ethan Bass, and these are the two drivers that finished 1st and 2nd. They have, though, caught up to their first prey. For right now, it's Kai DL, Harry's Twisted Racing teammate. We'll see if Kai plays any sort of a team game. But I imagine that Ethan's going to have him down this first race.
Pulls out. We talked, you heard the drivers talk about it too, about that Ford having a massive straight line advantage, straight line speed, but that didn't look, we saw smoke there. Maybe someone overcooked their brakes going in there, but Bass was unable to complete that pass.
Ooh. Somebody was on the outside of the track. I don't know if it was Chase Wilson or someone else, but there was a car stranded out there. It was indeed, it was Chase Wilson. Oh, he got into it with Kyle Boss going down the front stretch, Danny. We'll have to get a replay of this. He forced Kyle off the track. Kyle wasn't going to have any of it and spun him out, and Chase barrel rolled through the first chicane, bounced off the tire barriers, landed right in the track, and of course his car pretty much meatballed at that point.
If he's just sitting there, I'm wondering if he's not looking for Kyle to come back around the track.
I don't know. He has since towed the car. This is a replay of what happened. So you're going to see here, Kyle Boss is in that Mercedes. Chase forces him off the track, and Kyle basically has enough. I can't fault him for that. In my mind, there's no reason to block somebody going down a long straightaway like that or in racing at all. And Kyle just spins him out, kind of Carl Edwards, Joey Logano, 2016 at Homestead-esque.
That was massive. Massive. Yeah. Wow. Well, I think some drivers are definitely deleting some other drivers' names for those Christmas cards this year.
Oh, definitely. You're probably going to burn that Christmas card, and you're going to put him on the list, if you know what I mean. And it rhymes with knit. We're going to have an onboard replay. If you're watching this in VR or you are easily dizzy, probably close your eyes. Right there, flips over and starts to barrel roll. Gosh, he has like 6 flips, John.
I close my eyes.
For you folks at home that don't know, usually John races in VR, so he's got some horror stories, and I know our good friend Steven has a lot of horror stories about trying to get used to his VR. As you see Mark Scott battling it out here with Haddad.
Well, I'll tell you a quick funny story about a VR. I let my wife actually use it one time, and she in one of the old HPD cars, and she got into an accident. She almost fell out of my seat. I mean, it was just hilarious to kind of watch it. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
This is Blake Scott, Haddad, and Mark Scott all racing together here. This is for the 5th position. Going through turn 3 here as they set themselves up for the 2nd chicane. Everything is calm between these 3 drivers for right now. Back at our pro battle here for the last, I should say, podium position. Ethan Bass is once again caught up to Kai DL. He's going to look to Kai's outside as they both try to outbreak each other going into turn 1. Kai will have the inside. We'll see how far down the inside he stuffs it. Pretty far down, deep defensive move for him. Ethan's still not able to make up this position, and Harry Wills helpless to just kind of ride behind both those drivers as the laps continue to tick on. In the Pro-Am category, Kyle Smith currently has it, but Shreyas Ventukaraju is right on his tailpipes.
He is, and you know, it's a lot more difficult, even though you got a clear space out in front of you. If you got somebody on your bumper, defending always takes your attention and slows you down.
Another look here at this 3-wide battle for the 5th position in the Pro-Am category. This is the 2 Scots trying to outbreak each other, with Haddad involved there in the mix as well. Oh, okay. Yeah, Blake Scott falling quite considerably out of this battle now. Those 2 drivers have caught Chris Johnson. That is my bad. Thank you, Daniel. Chris Johnson, the first car in the frame there. Then Al Haddad, and then with the Scott.
Look at these guys snaking back and forth now, trying to break the draft. That's, you know, that's working, because I think that's probably what's keeping Ethan Bass at bay.
Well, it's really difficult to tell. I feel like for the moment, Ethan has a lot more straightaway speed than Kai does, but Kai's really good at getting that car into the chicane, especially getting himself through the chicane. I think right now that is Ethan's Achilles heel. Oh, one driver goes off the track. Shreyas Ventukaraju, contact is made. The first 2 drivers in the Pro-Am category go spinning. Rich Calais goes on through. And Shreyas Ventakaraju. This is at the exit of Ascari. Whoa, watch out! Oh, that was a hard lick. That was Blake Scott there. If we get a replay here, riding on board with Blake Scott. One.
Oh, look at this. Kai DL into the wall.
Oh,
Man. Craziness has descended upon Monza here. Absolute bonkers the last, what, minute and a half of this race is just, everything has gone upside down.
Yeah, you got to feel for Kai DL there. That was Harry Wills getting into his Twisted Racing teammate there in spearing him off the track. Absolute insanity. And it might be a hot second before we get to all these replays. This is a battle for the first position here in the pro category. James Pierce has been run down by Kyle Boss in his white Mercedes there. That's the second car you can see in the shot. The third car there is Ethan Bass. He's got Harry Wills just behind him. Too wide here for the lead as they go into Parabolica. We know Kyle doesn't like to be pushed around, certainly around on the track. He's given adequate racing room for right now, but we'll see what happens as the two drivers rocket towards turn one. Kyle has the overspeed. He's got that draft as well. James is helpless.
You know, how many guys have we seen get in trouble doing? Yeah, I was gonna say, how many times have we seen guys get in trouble doing this, trying to push each other one side of the track or the other down this front stretch here?
Oh, contact is made. A little bit of argy-bargy. For the most part, they stay clean, giving each other just enough room for racing. James Pierce is going to hold on to the lead for right now, but I don't think Kyle Boss is going to be denied. This is the battle between Shreyas Ventakaraju and that other BMW, I believe. Who was that?
Oh, wow. I thought he was going to pull right out in front of those cars.
He does, right there.
Oh, right there. Wow.
I forget who that red and white BMW is there, but yeah, hard contact was made. And yeah, that was Kyle Smith. Kyle Smith was in the lead. Shreyas went for a move there in Ascari, lost it through the middle section, and unfortunately, Kyle was just on the right part of the track that Shreyas was going to rejoin on. And then Kyle tried to turn his car around a little bit too fast. Whoa, too wide here in Ascari. They continue to battle. That is not where you want to do it. And the more these guys fight, Ethan Bass is running them down. He's within a second now.
You know, the only way that is being an oval guy, the dirt oval guy at this is like short track racing at a super speedway. These guys are really leaning on each other a lot. And man, is it it's fantastic to watch. It's entertaining.
It's basically wanting tacos and pizza, and you settle for pizza. You're ecstatic about getting pizza, but boy, you kind of want tacos in the back of your mind, and you go to one of those places. It's like a buffet pizza line, and they have a taco pizza. You get the best of both worlds. Kyle Boss shoves the car to the outside there of James Pierce. They're going to be too wide as they go through the first chicane, especially on corner exit. James Pierce is going to have the inside for right now. Kyle Boss forced to take the long way around. I think Van Halen might have said it best, maybe Sammy Hagar, best of both worlds.
Absolutely.
Or Hannah Montana. I don't discriminate.
Look at these guys. I mean,
ooh, they're still door banging.
Yeah.
And watch out. Here's Ethan Bass. I'll be curious how aggressive Ethan is to get this lead. He backed off there, and I don't think Harry was expecting it. We'll see if Kyle gets pushed off the track. James Pierce continues to leave just enough room. Kyle Boss makes his way through. Whoa, watch out. Oh, man, that was an extremely loose. Oh, he got taken out. Ethan Bass got in the back of him, didn't expect him to get loose. I think that's put a lot of front-end damage on the front end of that Bass machine.
Well, and that's about the only thing that's going to slow him down. That Ford has had the advantage on these long stretches here.
See if we can get a replay of that riding on board with that Bass machine coming off the corner. James Pierce got a little bit loose there. Ethan was not expecting it. Had that car mashed wide open at that point. Just barely got into him. And at that speed, when the car is already loose, you're hanging on for dear life. And when you get tapped, there's no saving it. So this is a quick replay. And watch for the Lamborghini here of Pierce. He's going to get loose, exiting the second Lesmo. Tried to cross over there, Kyle Boss. He almost has the car saved. And as soon as Ethan does, he gets into the back of him, and that's going to end the night for James Pierce.
Yeah, and you can't blame Ethan Bass there for getting in the back of him. You know that when he got out of shape there, if Ethan lets off the gas, he's getting hit from behind. So that's a tough deal all around for everybody. Oh man!
And you don't expect.
Go ahead.
Just don't expect him to keep wiggling that car back and forth. After he saved it there, it looked like he had it collected. And if you're Ethan Bass, you've already got your foot firmly planted on the accelerator pedal. So I don't blame him at all, John, like you're saying. Oh, John Casey, this is the same place that he lost that car in the earlier race. He made it a lot further in this one, though. And he saves the car. I mean, he didn't hit anything.
That has a look of being a little bit trimmed out. And, you know, we're 22 minutes into this race. Those guys that went and trimmed their car out compared to the first one, as we look now, Ethan Bass is getting past, or making an attempt on a pass here. But, you know, when you got the car trimmed out and the tires start to go, that's when these things are really going to become a handful.
Yeah, whoa, watch out for
go.
Harry Wills. Spins the
What
car
a
out
save!
What a save! Danny, can we get a replay of that? That was incredible. I want to get an on-board replay because that was absolutely crazy. I don't know how he saved that.
2 words. That's a Code Brown moment. Code Brown, man. Oh my! That gave me a Code Brown, and that gave me a Code Brown. I'm sitting here watching it.
Yeah, definitely good. There's streaks on the racetrack, and there are definitely a couple streaks somewhere else, if you know what I'm saying. Probably just throw away this pair of underpants, Harry.
That was such a good save. That's been the save of the season.
Don't even dare put it through the wash.
Yeah, that save of the season that we just saw right there.
I don't know how he did it. That was some incredible stuff. Unfortunately for Harry, he falls back a position, but honestly, for saving that car, I mean, his race should have been over. So I'm sure he'll much rather take the 4th position rather than lose even more of them.
And Ethan is closing up on Kyle Boss. I mean, I don't even know what to expect. I mean, as bonkers as this race has been, it completely on a different level than what we've seen. And this should be an epic battle, I would think. And even that battle for 3rd and 4th, it looks like it's probably heating up a little bit too.
Yeah, Harry Wills is all over the back right now of Jeremy Littleton. Almost had him between the 2 Lesmos. Harry thought better of it, has decided to pull back in line. Looks like he's going to think about it again going into Ascari. James is going to let him by, the 2 Twisted Racing cars. We'll see how well Ethan Bass can run down Kyle Boss. He's got a lot of front end damage on that Ford. Definitely going to be affecting his arrow down the straightaway. Might help him in the corner, though. Might add some downforce.
Oh, that's what he needs, is downforce in the corners and still fast down the straightaways. That's going to be a killer combo. Tough to probably hold at bay.
Certainly. If you're wondering what's going on in the other 2 classes here, we do have 3 overall. In the AM category, Eli Sasick holds an 8-second lead over Matthew Plaisance. Plaisance looking at taking a big point stay here over Aaron Beaver to extend his point lead in the Pro-Am category after the craziness that saw Rich Calais get through. I mean, he threaded the needle there between the 2 wrecked cars on either side of him. He's got himself in the lead once again. We might see him take away, you know, I'm not going to say he doesn't deserve it, but he's just kind of there when it matters, running his own race.
And I did notice a second ago, guys are starting to pit.
Yeah, you saw Aaron Beaver was just in the pit as well. You'll see that pit time come up on the left side of your screen. It'll say pit. This is a look at Harry Wills' amazing save here through Ascari. Right about here, he starts to lose the car.
Watch that full lock on the wheel. Oh my! Now that's one you tell your mates at the pub over a pint. You're not going to believe what I did. For us Americans, it's the fishing story. I once caught a fish this big. What a save by Harry! Wow.
Yeah. And if you're an American and don't know what John just said, it's something you tell your friends about at the bar
Yes.
over a beer.
Yes.
That was
And you
incredible.
you exaggerate the whole story, except for
Oh yeah.
Harry. Harry's not exaggerating. He had that thing full lock in at Monza, and how many guys we've seen already? What, 2 or 3 guys bin it right there, and man, he could do that another 1,000 times, and you know what? He'll wreck every one of those times. I'm gonna go back and watch this broadcast a little bit later just to see that again.
I
Incredible.
mean, even if he were to do it 1,000 more times and save it again, I'd still be just as impressed. That is
That's true.
awesome stuff. And with those tall tales too, John, they get more and more crazy every single time you tell them. Yeah, I'm sure you folks at home have grandparents or maybe buddies at school.
Oh, here's
that
another
do the
lock.
exact
Look
same
at it.
thing.
Right here. I mean, look at this. What a great
Road
shot,
drifting.
Daniel.
Wow.
Just beyond me how he
Incredible.
didn't lose that back all the way around. That. Well done. Well done, Harry.
Eli Sassick continues to have an 8-second lead. There's his closest competitor, Matthew Plaisance, just barely coming into shot there. In the pro category, Kyle Boss has his second lead over Ethan Bass. It's another half a second back to Harry Wills. Harry has been dispatched from behind Jeremy Littleton. You're going to see him go around John Casey right now. That's that white and blue Ferrari you're seeing. That's in the AM category. They're not racing for position. Wide for these drivers, not taking as much out of that first part of the chicane as I figured they would. Looks like Chris Johnson is in the pits in the Pro-Am category. He's going to come out of there in 5th.
I don't know, Austin. I'm thinking some of these guys, when they're coming in the pits, they're going to want to sit there. You know, they're not going to, but they're going to probably want to sit there just a little bit just to catch their breath from the first half of this race.
Yeah, I couldn't blame him. At this place, you have a lot of opportunities to kind of take a breather down these straightaways. But if you're racing with other people, you are completely focused. Sometimes you're white-knuckling the wheel because you're trying to get all the draft that you possibly can. And this is one of those places that really demands everything out of a driver.
Another great camera shot. Kyle Boss looking back at Ethan Bass. And Daniel is, he's worked overtime tonight between the replays of all the craziness and the great shots like this. This really tells the distance between where Ethan can close up a little bit and then where Kyle has a little bit of an advantage here. Looks like Kyle's getting out of the corners a little bit. I think that damage that's on Ethan's nose, I think that's creating some drag and taking that advantage that Ford has had early part of this race. I think it's taking that advantage away.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, too, the further we get into this race, I mean, we just passed the 30-minute mark in this 50-minute endeavor. I think the more these guys wear out their tire, the rear end on that Mercedes is extremely finicky the more laps you put on it, especially when you come out of these slower corners and want to put your foot down on the accelerator, especially in the high-end corners as well. You rely on that rear axle a lot to kind of keep that rear end in check, and the more you light up those tires coming
here
off
come the
these
leaders.
corners,
Leaders are
the
pitting.
more and more they're going to fight back. The top 4, the entirety of the remaining pro category class comes down pit road. See if Aaron Beaver follows suit. Greg
I think
Brockley
Beaver's
just came in
already
the pit.
Beaver's already pitted.
Oh, Beaver's already
Yeah,
pitted.
Aaron was the first one
Harry
that pitted.
Wills rolled through his pit box. That's going to be a costly mistake for him.
Yeah, it will.
So Greg
Looks like-
Brockway just now coming out of the pits. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, Aaron Beaver is, I'm wondering where he's going to shake out here after all these pits take place here. But look at the
Kyle
gap.
Boss.
There's no gap. There is no gap between who was in first and second here. Kyle Boss is not that far now. Now we're going to find out for sure if that car has damage talking about Ethan Bass's.
Took the words right out of my mouth there, John. Kyle Boss
Sorry about
barely is
that.
going to beat Ethan. No, no worries at all, buddy.
Yeah, I
Going to
got
barely beat
excited.
Ethan Bass. Off of pit road. Battle on the right-hand side of your screen. That is for P3 and 4 in the pro category. Harry Wills just ahead of Jeremy Littleton. Harry really should be with those top two drivers, but just rolled through his box, had to put that car in reverse before his team could start putting fuel into that race car.
Yeah, and watching this battle in the top corner of your screens here, it really looks like Kyle Boss is getting a little bit more, gaining, or should I say, putting a little bit of distance between Ethan on these straightaways.
Yeah,
as I say that, Ethan gets a toe though.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's still, you know, the better part of about 27 minutes left in this race. You see Matthew Plaisance bringing his car down pit road just as Eli Sasek is leaving. Sorry, Matthew Plaisance exiting the pits. John Casey bringing his car down onto pit road. Aaron Beaver passes Casey. We'll see just how close this is going to put him to Plaisance here. And Rich Goulet has been run down by Haddad. This is the battle for the first position in the Pro-Am category. And just behind those guys, a second and a half there behind Haddad is Chris Johnson. So the entire podium continues to close up here in the Pro-Am.
You know, the one thing here, and now we get a split screen again of two fantastic battles, but I'm going to refer to the one down in your bottom corner here. Ethan Bass has that damage on his nose, but that pit stop has allowed him to be close enough to get a toe. I'm wondering if that's not going to keep him in the ball game, but when he steps out to try to pass, I think that's going to be a little bit of a detriment to him.
Couldn't agree more, John. Couldn't agree more. And Ethan Bass continues to give it all they can to try and run him down. Battle for the lead in the Pro-Am category continues to get hotter and hotter. Rich Calais and Haddad now side by side as they go down the front stretch.
This is a game of chicken now to this chicane. Who's going to lift first?
Ooh, a deck. Looks like Rich Calais is going to get the position for right now. We'll see if he can scamper out before he's run down again. But I think for right now, these two drivers are too close on pace.
Oh, they are, and I'll tell you, one that's starting to close in, as they start to fight, Johnson's moving in on them. Yeah, that's right here. Ethan Bass has caught a back marker here, and you know that's about the worst place that you could do. I think that's going to allow Boss to break the draft a little bit. Oh, that's a tough break that's a really, really tough break for Ethan.
Yeah, all the hard work he's done over the last couple laps. I mean, just nailing the corners when he can. For that to happen to him, that's really going to.
He's drawn back up here.
Yeah,
he really drew back up through there.
He's going to be absolutely livid behind the wheel of that race car. And it's not like that lap car was doing anything wrong. He's racing his own race. Nothing wrong with what he's doing. But, you know, when you're in Ethan's shoes, that guy cannot get out of the way fast enough.
Yeah, but Ethan's recovered.
Yeah,
but Ethan was recovered, though. He really got through that chicane much better than Boss. Now he's back within what I would call that toe distance, to be able to get that toe to sneak up on him. I wonder if you'll still start to see Kyle try to break that draft by kind of weaving a little bit.
And in fairness, I mean, you can be anywhere to like a second behind the guy in front of you on these long straightaways and start to sniff a draft. But the closer you get, the bigger of an advantage it becomes, and the faster you go and catch up to that guy ahead of you. So he's still getting it. It's just kind of negligible the further and further away you get. But Johnny, your point, he is right back there now.
He sure is, and now it looks like we're going to have another lap car that these guys are going to approach, and it's all about where you catch these lap guys, you know, and how quickly they can get out of your way. I mean, We saw already once here that it separated these two, and Bass was able to recover, but I don't know if he wants to press his luck too many times with a situation like that.
You know, I can't imagine he does. Less than 15 minutes now remain in this 50-minute race. Kyle Boss is your leader. Ethan Bass won the race earlier on today. No doubt he's got one of the fastest, if not the fastest cars on the grid, especially in the Pro-Am category. He's trying to see if he can't sneak this thing away with a win here from Kyle Boss. Kyle finished on the podium. I'm sure he'd like to improve his finishing position from earlier.
Oh, El Haddad is really, I mean, both of these battles are just great. Man, we got to give another shout out to Daniel, our producer, to get both of these up on the screen so we can follow both of these battles. And I've got two eyes, and I'm like just almost going nuts here looking from screen to screen. I mean, this is incredible racing from all these guys involved.
Yeah, they continue to put on an absolute class act of a show all the way up and down the field. I'm also kind of keeping an eye on Harry Wills. He continues to lose time from these two guys, China. I've been looking at this delta from himself up to the leader, and he continues to fall further and further back, so he might have burned up his stuff.
Well, that big slide probably didn't help matters much as far as his tires go. Now, most of these guys are on the same tires. I don't think they switch tires. So, I mean, you know, these tires are definitely starting to go. And when you have a big slide like that and get them mad, you may not get them back again.
No, I didn't see any of these guys go up on the jack stands when they came down pit road. Boy, Chris Johnson's right up there now with these two guys at the head of this Pro-Am category. That battle continues to get hotter and hotter.
Well, and that's going to be a problem for El Haddad. El Haddad there. He's going to have to eventually start not only attacking, but he's going to be defending at the same time. Here he goes for a pass.
Yeah, this is going in.
He's not going to have a preferred line though.
Yeah, I don't like this going into Ascari too wide. He's going to be on the outside. Force can lay down to the inside. They're going to fall single file towards the exit. We'll see if we get a good run out of Parabolica, but Rich got a phenomenal run there out of Ascari as well. And with these two guys running side by side anytime they do, Chris Johnson gets a ginormous draft. He's just out of shot. I mean, that's how close he is. You can barely see
there he is.
Start to poke into frame.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, he's going to get a huge run here.
Yeah, Calais went wide. Calais got wide, and that's gonna cost him, because now El Haddad has got the preferred line going into this chicane up here.
Yeah, look at them being too wide. This is only going to help out Johnson. It's the car behind. We're going to see who has the biggest kahunas, as they say. Last and late breakers. Right now it's going to be Haddad. Rich Calais falls to the wayside back into second place. We'll see if Johnson can make his way up there as well.
That is a textbook move there. And then Calais right now, he's got to get himself back under control here, because I'm sure behind the wheel he's frustrated. He knows he just made a mistake, but he's got to forget about it and go back to work here. He's a great driver, so I don't think he'll have a problem doing that. But you know just as well as I do, when you get past and you know it's your fault, sometimes that it takes maybe a half a lap or so to shake that off and get back to work.
Yeah, there's two things he's feeling right now. He's feeling very, very flustered, for sure, and frustrated with himself by the fact he lost that position. He's done a really good job, though, to kind of keep himself in the bubble between these two drivers. He's got Haddad up ahead and Christopher Johnson in behind. They continue to stay single file. We'll see if Calais can make any sort of moves back on Haddad, but, I mean, given the fact that Agraf won the race earlier today, the 25-minute one, I wouldn't be too surprised if he were to just ever so slightly continue to pull away from Calais.
No, I think you could be right here. I think he's already started to move away from Calais.
Oh, too wide here for the battle in the overall lead. Ethan Bass puts the car down the inside of Kyle Boss. He's going to make the position there and gain the lead through the first Lesmo. We'll have to see if Kyle Boss has anything for him or if Ethan can pull away.
Ethan had been stalking him. That was a lot of patience by Ethan there. And, you know, let's be honest here. Ethan's gotten himself in trouble, I think, a couple times early in the season for maybe not being quite as patient is what he should have been, and looks like he's taken those lessons and learned from them, because he's driven basically 2 flawless races here almost.
Yeah, he certainly has, doing a really good job here today at Monza. And these being what we heard from the drivers is the 2 fastest cars on the grid, I'll be extremely interested to see what they can do and how they can race each other now that the turns have been tabled, as they say.
Oh, Boss has got a good run here. He's going to have a really nice shot at maybe, I don't know. Look at that Ford just kind of stretch it, but Boss is coming back. Is he going to step out and try to outbrake him?
We'll see. I don't think he's quite close enough just yet to think about it. Ethan is going to continue to hold the lead. Got just about 7.5 minutes left in this race before we see the checkered flag fall.
In Austin, he said he's not thinking about it. You know, drivers, they're always thinking about it. It's just a matter of if they're going to do it or not. Yes. I've raced with you enough. I know you're always thinking about it, but these 2 guys have put on a heck of a show, man. Man, I'm actually surprised now that Bass has actually put a little bit of distance there. I guess maybe the damage to his car really isn't affecting him as much as what you and I had thought it was.
I mean, I'm sure it's affecting him to some degree, but I think he might have just been doing a good job at saving his tires as well, because he's got a lot of good car control over that purple machine there, and he's just keeping it really tidy, especially through all the chicanes. And I think Kyle Boss continues to have just a little bit of trouble getting that Mercedes to handle to his liking for right now. And I think he tried to trim the car out as much as he could, but it's just not quite all there. He stayed with them though.
Here you go. Look at this. He may step out one more time. Nope. Boy, that shot as they're coming at you, it looks like they're just right on, like almost like he's pushing them. But
no, he was.
Oh, look at this!
Whoa,
Rich Calais.
That's in the second chicane.
Oh.
He must have gotten all sorts of squilly there coming off the corner and put that car in the inside
too
wall.
deep.
Again, going back to the battle in the pro category, Bass and Boss.
Yeah, that almost, Calais incident almost had the look of maybe he got in there a little too deep, wheel hopped, and might have gotten himself in a little bit of trouble there.
See if we can't get a replay on that in just a couple of minutes. John, I'm not too sure if Kyle right now isn't trying to practice his runs. This is a look at what happened to Rich Calais.
Oh, yeah, try to drive it in deep. Contact, maybe.
Racing with Chris Johnson. Oh, yeah. He just got doored by Chris, and that forced his car over off to the right. The way that wall juts out.
You thought he was frustrated before.
Yeah.
Hot. I'm sure. Not pleased. And that's, to be honest, as a racing deal. Looked like that back end got out of I don't know. I forgot whose driver that was, but looks like the other car there back end came out a little bit, and he had to catch it. Kind of forced Calais into that wall there. Johnson, I think, lost the back end a little bit.
Boy, this battle for first position in the pro category continues to stay hotly contested between Ethan Bass and Kyle Boss. Kyle Boss had the position leading for a majority of this race. Ethan Boss came up there and just kind of plucked it right out of his hands.
Boy, you just watching these boys here, you know, and that's kind of that. It's so close you can taste it. And you just wishing for a little bit more. He's got to run. Let's see if he pulls out.
Yeah, we'll see if he does anything
with
it.
He stalled right there.
Yeah, he stalled out. I don't know if that was the air or if maybe he kind of lifted off there just to make sure he stayed with him.
Whoa,
there goes Ethan.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Boy, talk about angry.
And there goes Harry. So that's going to drop Ethan down to the bottom step of the podium.
Oh, here comes Jeremy Littleton as well.
Yeah.
He's going to have to make sure his tires don't have any dirt on them or whatever from spinning out and going into the sand trap there. Otherwise, Jeremy's going to have him in a couple seconds. But, man, if you're Kyle Boss, you got to be feeling pretty proud of yourself right now.
You know, I said at the top of the show, this is probably going to be our most exciting race to date.
No, I think
Man.
you were right, and you should put money on it.
I think I should have, but I'll be honest. If I was being 100% honest, I wouldn't think I was talking to be entertaining, as in a crazy standpoint. I thought we would see some really, really close racing, and we have, to be honest with you. But man, oh man, this has been just been completely bonkers.
This has been off the wall nuts. I can't even begin to explain. I mean, if this were a movie script, I would say you're crazy. But boy, it's played out like one. So as they stand right now, Kyle Boss has about a 5.5 second lead over Harry Wills. We'll see if Ethan Bass can run down Harry. He's got 2 seconds to do it. I don't think he's going to quite get there. Anything can happen.
Yeah, you got to be thinking that white flag is going to be coming out maybe next time by.
Yeah, next time by they'll get the white flag. I will say though, Aaron Beaver has been running down Matthew Plaisance. The gap was 4 seconds about 10 minutes or so ago. Now he's brought that gap down to 1.7. You can see that's the gap from the Ferrari there of Plaisance back to the Mercedes of Beaver. These guys have been trading wins, fastest laps, poles, back and forth all season long. And you can tell, I mean, there's a reason they're like 30 or 40 points ahead of their closest competitor in the championship standings. It's definitely going to come down to one of these two drivers. And Aaron continues to chip away at that lead that Matthew has.
Time winding down, though, I think he's going to run out of time, to be honest with you.
I'm inclined to agree for right now, but he continues to chip away at it. I tell you, these guys can take some solace in the fact that they are a little bit too far up the track from being put a lap down, so they will get an extra lap to race for it. I'm sure Aaron is happy about it. I'm not too sure Matthew is. He's lost another 2 seconds.
I almost wonder if he hasn't had some kind of problem either. His tires, either he's exhausted his tires, the degradation on the tires is to the point where it's slowing him down that much.
I think it's fuel.
Beaver's there. Oh, or fuel. There you go. That could be it too.
It's going to be really close. Kyle Boss is going to cross the start-finish line this time by. White flag in the air for him, so this will be his final lap. The two drivers racing there on the left, both sides of your screen. They have this lap and a whole nother lap to complete. So if you're Matthew Plaisance, you are really wishing that you'd have gotten lapped.
Yeah, I think that fuel angle that you're talking about, because I was wondering why it just seemed like he was slowing way down. It didn't look like he had any damage or anything. So that's either a tire or fuel thing.
Yeah, and just the way he was giving up time there, especially into turn 1. For you folks at home that might not be aware of how to save fuel, it's the same way you do it in your road car. You basically want your foot off the accelerator pedal. That is lifting earlier before you go into the corners, trying to keep those ripums low overall, earlier on the upshifts, later on the downshift. Really coasting into the corners.
Here's the battle for the bottom 2 steps on the podium, and boy, Harry Wills is trying to duplicate what he did earlier with that catch, and he keeps dipping tires off the track. If he does that one too many times, Ethan Bass is going to get there and get that spot back.
Yeah, we'll see. He's got one more chance to keep it together as, whoa, that car is all over the place in Ascari. I've been there. I've driven the Mercedes here, and boy, it is in a handful at the end of these races. We'll see if Ethan has anything for him as they head down into Parabolica. Kyle Boss is a couple seconds up the road. Too wide as they go into Parabolica now. Kyle Boss just exiting the corner a little bit up the road. Checkered flag for him flies in the air. He'll be the 50-minute winner here at Monza. And now the battle between Harry Wills and Ethan Bass. Harry Wills just barely going to get it as they go side by side across the finish line.
Wow. Nice
Kyle
finish
Boss,
for those two guys.
their
There's your winner.
All of the pro drivers have finished, and in the Pro-Am category, Ekraf El Haddad is going to go through the Ascari chicane. He's only got about a straightaway and a half, we'll say, before he's able to grab his second checkered flag and only his first night of competition here in this World Series League's GT3 series. He's just got Parabolica left.
Yeah, able to nurse it home. He's got a 4-second lead. He's going to bring home. He's going to go 1 for 1. Bring it home.
2 for 2 if you count the earlier
yep.
race as well.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And Eli Sasek as well. It's a 2-wide battle here coming out of Parabolica. This is Rich Calais, Brandon Melling. Melling in 4th, Calais in 5th. In the AM category, Eli Sasek just now at the very top of your screen, you were going to see him coming to the shot. He's going to be the one taking the checkered flag here in the AM category. And just behind him, Matthew Plaisance and Aaron Beaver still duking it out for that second and third step on the podium. Looks like Plaisance is going to get Beaver.
Not by much.
Yeah, 0.3 of a second. Boy, that was an incredible race, John. That was the craziest race I have ever seen at Monza in my life. And I think that was probably the best save I've ever seen by Harry Wills out of anybody here at Monza. Overall race results up on your screen now. Kyle Boss takes victory over Harry Wills. Ethan Bass would have had the victory had he not spun himself out there. A little bit of an unforced error on the exit of the first chicane. He'll come home on the bottom step of the podium. Jeremy Littleton and James Pierce round out the top 5 with Kai Diel and Chase Wilson rounding out your 7-car field. In the Pro-Am category, the man who goes 2 for 2 on his first night of competition here in the league, Ekraf El Haddad takes the checkered flag again. Christopher Johnson in 2nd. Mark Scott 3rd. Brandon Melling 4th. Rich Calais in 5th. Shreyas Ventukaraju had the lead for about a half a quarter before sliding through the Ascari chicane into Kyle Smith. Justin Rousseau finishes in 7th. Blake Scott 8th. And James Nunn rounds out the 10-car field for the Pro-Am category. And then in the M category, Eli Sasek takes the checkered flag over Matthew Plaisance with Aaron Beaver rounding out the podium spots. Greg Brockway 4th, John Casey 5th, Eric Papineau started the race on the pole, and it was a very, very fast pull off to the track, pull it to the side of the track, and hit the tow button. So hopefully all was okay with Eric. It looks like, though, we've got a lot of guys here waiting to get interviewed. Let's go ahead and start with Matthew Plaisance. Came home 2nd place once again in the AM category. Matthew, strong race there at the end. John and I were kind of wondering what was going on as the laps were winding down, because it looked like you were getting run down by Mr. Beaver pretty quick.
Yeah, which I expected. I'm just glad I was able to stay in front. I think he had either a spin or an off or something kind of early on, put him back. But yeah, I was just keeping an eye on that relative, trying to just stay clean, because it's definitely going to come down to one of us making a mistake and the other one's going to take it.
Definitely, you guys continue to trade wins, fastest times, pole positions back and forth, and you guys are certainly the cream of the crop for that M category, and it's going to be an unforced error, self-imposed by one of you guys to take it. But strong run for you tonight. You continue to get them in both the races. Got to be a good point stay, or you guys trade back and forth positions in the races. Good point stay though for you. Keeps that momentum going.
Absolutely. Only a few rounds left.
We continue to get further and further towards the end of the season. Are there any tracks you're looking to, kind of focus, maybe hone in on for the last couple races here? Anything that kind of suits your wheelhouse?
Well, I know we have I believe we have Nürburgring next week, which I'm plenty of experience. So hopefully that will go well. Long Beach, I believe. I don't know it, so that one's gonna be. That'll end up being my drop round, I'm willing to bet. But
okay.
Yeah, but I know Bathurst, I can't remember what the final round is going to be. Bathurst is okay now. I used to not like it, but it's okay now. So I don't know, I'm just going to practice and do everything I can to try to stay on top.
Yeah, Long Beach is one of those classic circuits for road racing, especially here in the United States. You a big street course guy?
I was going to say it's a lot like Belle Isle.
Yep.
Right.
So not feeling too positive about the street courses. Well, hopefully for your sake, you continue to do well and you can really make both you guys fight for this championship as it continues to come down towards the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just see. We'll see what happens.
Well, Matthew, again, thank you so much for your time tonight. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Who do you want to thank before we let you go, man?
I'll thank you guys again because I'm running out of people now. So you guys are always do great. I really enjoy watching back afterwards, and just keep doing what y'all doing.
Well, thank you, buddy. I really appreciate that. Congratulations on your second P2 of the night. Hopefully next race we see a couple of ones out of you.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, that was Matthew Plaisance, came home P2 in the AM division. And John, it looks like you've caught up with Eli Sasek, the man who brought home the victory in the AM category.
Yeah, Eli, this is John. You got a copy?
Yep.
Well, my friend, you're able to kind of put one home here and take one at one of the more historic tracks. Walk me through your race. How'd you get it done?
I kind of figured I had the pace from the first race. I think I could have at least challenged Matthew a bit in the first race. I made a few mistakes there that I shouldn't have made, and that kind of hindered me. And I figured those out for the second race. I was able to pass pretty much all the cars on the first lap, which definitely helped. I was able to get some of the people who were a bit slower, not as on pace behind me, and I was kind of able to give myself a buffer between Matthew and Aaron. And from there it was kind of smooth sailing. The last 10 minutes, I was quite worried though, because I had I kind of thought my right front was not doing too well. Into the second chicane and then through entering Ascari, I had a lot of weight in my steering wheel, and it kind of worried me. So that was kind of the only worried spot. But overall, it was it was taxing, but I got it done, which I'm very happy about.
Well, you did do that. You were able to bring it home. About how you said about the last 10 minutes is when you started feeling those tires. What kind of tire wear did you have at the end there? Did you take a look?
I was quite surprised. The right front was like 70% inside middle, and I think the outside was at 90. The left front actually turned out worse, so I kind of figure that maybe it wasn't necessarily tires, but just me driving it wrong somehow. But the tires, I think, certainly kind of had some sort of effect, at least through like the middle to start of the late portion. But once we kind of started losing a lot more fuel, it started to go a lot more smoother.
Well, next week we go to, I think it's the Nürburgring. What is your prospects and what do you think of that place?
I'm very excited. I love the Nordschleife, especially, and I'm quite excited to run there. I don't think I've run a league race of any sort there in a very long time, and I'm very excited because it's probably my favorite track on the iRacing service, and it's one that I know very well from Gran Turismo Sport. So I'm genuinely very excited, and probably start putting in practice as soon as Friday.
You know, I'm glad I'm not the only one that thinks that's one of their favorites, because that is I've done so many VLN races there, those 6-hour endurances. That place is just a blast. So I wish you the best of luck next week, and we'll look forward to seeing you. I'm going to step back here and give you the floor. Who would you like to thank?
First of all, Twisted and everybody there who gives me the opportunity to compete with them and for them. And then my grandparents who usually watch. I'm not quite sure if they are right now, but they usually do. So thank you to them as well.
Well, that's awesome, buddy. Well, have a good week. Enjoy your practice, and try to keep it on the track and not get lost in all those twists and turns. I forget how many miles that joint is, but stop by the village, have a pint, stop by the castle, and take a sightseeing tour, that kind of deal. So we'll see you next week.
Yep, thank you.
That's Eli Sasek, our big winner from tonight in the pro category. And Austin, who have you caught up with?
Yeah, I've caught up with Kyle Boss, the winner in the pro category. Kyle, it looked like you had the win in your pocket for a while. Ethan came up there, kind of rattled your cage a little bit, and then got himself. And from then on out, dude, you had 5 seconds of a lead. You could just nurse this thing home.
Yeah, it was that was a battle. That was a hard fought race. The heavy racing the whole way around. I was unfortunate about Ethan. He just he accidentally turned his traction control off and didn't see that he did that, so he just planted it and did a quick 360 coming out of the chicane. So that was a fun race. That was a lot of fun. Some unfortunate bits in there, but all in all, still good racing. Really good time.
Yeah, definitely. You were certainly exciting to watch all night long. I mean, you were in the thick of it as well. I mean, this wasn't handed to you. It's not like you caught the invert just perfectly or sandbagged in the first race. You were really fighting for it at the end of the first race as well. I mean, you just barely snookered that podium there in the 25-minute race, and then to come out of here with the victory, you should be incredibly proud of yourself.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the drive. Very happy with the car. I'm glad I could get this one home for Solaritas. It was good to get a P1 in a bigger race. So I missed qualifying. You know, life kind of got in the way a little bit. Got late from work and didn't get a chance to qualify. So I knew it was going to be a uphill battle the whole race, but just had some good people out there cheering me on. So got it done.
Yeah, man. Every now and again, that little thing we like to call life seems to wiggle its way into your free time, especially
It
working.
somehow
But
gets in the way every time.
yep, yeah, without fail. But before I let you go, dude, who do you want to thank for your win, man?
I gotta thank Solaritas Sim Racing, Major's Garage, and Harry Wills and this team here for getting this league set up. Racing's always good, so, and I gotta thank my buddy once again, my buddies Noah and Duca in the chat, always trying to rile people up. So it was a good race, good people. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
for sure, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Congratulations, man. Celebrate this one.
Got the beer in hand, we're ready to go.
That's what I like to hear. Kyle Boss, big winner here tonight in the pro category, and I think you've caught up with Ethan Bass.
Yeah, Ethan, man, I tell you, you got the lead, and oh, just a heartbreak for you after that. Walk me through kind of what happened there.
Oh, that was unfortunate. I'm just kind of sitting back in the first part of that race, just biding my time. I know I've got pace on people, and once I get the lead, it's just an unfortunate. I go for a change on the dash, and unfortunately, I just pressed the wrong button on the steering wheel. That typical unfortunate late at night thing. I can't really see the wheel, and it's just there's one button right next to it, and it's just flick the TC off. Something to get starts, like get speed out of the pit lane faster, but unfortunately I just clicked it off out of Parabolica, and you saw the result of it at turn 1 or turn 2.
I did, and you know, the one thing I noticed, your patience in this race, especially before you got the lead, like you said, just kind of sitting back there stalking a little bit. That is more patience than I've seen you have this season. Where did that come from? Was that a conscious change you made, or was it just because you knew how good the car was?
I wouldn't say I'm never super impatient. I guess maybe it depends.
Oh no, you're not. No, I didn't mean that. I was just saying. Usually, when you got a car, you seem like you're confident with it and you go. Not that you're impatient or do anything like that, but just when you had a car that strong, to not try to go for the attack right away. What was your strategy in just sitting back? Were you wanting to save fuel or save tires, or were you just content where you were?
It's a bit of all of them, really, kind of thing. Playing the long game, and it's a case of you don't need to make a move just because you've got onto the back of somebody. You don't need to make a move the very first braking zone into somebody. You can size them up and get the move done cleanly. There's plenty of times where I was following Kai into turn 1. I can outbrake him, but it's a case of getting all the way around the outside is difficult, and I don't think the grip was quite there. It was a bit warmer in the second race, so I just decided to bide my time and not go for the sends around the outside of turn 1, get the inside for turn 2. I decided to wait and get a better run, and I got the run out of the first chicane on that lap 10, I think it was, roughly, and I then just got the power through Curva Grande to get the position. So it was mostly just playing the late game. There's 50 minutes. There isn't the guy's not going to get too far away from me. I've got the top speed, so I can easily catch back up if need be.
Well, with the win tonight and everything else, a good night for you here, Ethan. It's really good to talk to you. Who would you like to give a shout out to at this point here?
I think most of the news owes to IMB for the sponsorship of the series, and Fitz for, I almost said the old team name, Orbit Motorsport lads cheering me on with likes of Hybrid Tune, Fight Collateral Cancer, Deviant Tweaks, and you boys in the booth. That was a good bit of fun.
It was a good bit of fun. It was a lot of fun to watch, Ethan, and I really appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll talk to you next week at the ring.
Oh yeah, Nordschleife was actually quite fun in this car. You would actually be amazed. I've got a really nice set for that track.
Oh, good. Well, then we'll look forward to you being up front and talking to you again, man.
Yep, always happy to have a
Yep,
good chat
that's
if the race is fun.
Absolutely. Well, that's Ethan Bass, and Austin, I think you've caught up with Chris Johnson here.
Yeah, I got Chris Johnson up here in the booth. Chris, you come home with a super strong P2 to end the night here. Really strong run for you. One spot off taking home the big victory here. It's got to feel pretty good.
It does feel pretty good. I had a real rough start to the second race. I got spun out. It was actually netcode. I watched the replay back. Lost all of my positions and just had to fight my way back through. But luckily, some other people had some misfortunate corners that allowed me to get some of those positions back without a fuss.
Yeah, we were watching there at the beginning of the race. It looked like you got spun up by one car, and then another car came in and righted you. So you're at least facing the right direction, but you're still unfortunately, lost every single spot. so there, good that the car wasn't too damaged. You were facing the right direction, but any sort of gain you had, or even the positions that you were given towards the start of the race, with just how we invert the grid, you lost all those spots. But yeah, one heck of a drive, man, to battle back from that. And other guys had some adversity, but you got to take them when you can get them.
Oh, absolutely. I was about to say, I want to say I had about 3 minutes worth of optional repairs on that one. And also, I want to say I gained about 3 seconds just in the pits alone. So that actually helped me out a lot to get back towards the front.
I would not have imagined you would have 3 minutes of optional damage to repair with how well you were handling that car out there. Looked like you had a good shot there at taking home the victory, because you were up there on the tail end of all those battles as you saw the leaders, the fast guys get themselves up through the field. So I'm sure they are thinking they're lucky stars that you had all that damage at the beginning of the race.
Yeah, well, I messed up on I placed really bad on my first race. I had a lot of mess ups, and I just had to get my head back together and just focus up on what was in front of me at that point in time versus trying to hurry up and get through the field as fast as I possibly could. And it actually worked out a lot better for me, keeping a calmer head, I guess you could say.
Certainly. Chris, last question before I let you go here. Who do you have to thank for your run tonight?
To be honest with you, Eclipse Racing Team, they sit down, coach me through the tracks, and pretty much teach me everything that I do know. I haven't been racing for a long time, so it definitely helps out a lot.
Certainly, man. Well, you had us here fooled up in the booth, so congratulations. Hopefully you can get one spot better next weekend, and have a good night, man.
You as well.
As Christopher Johnson finishes P2 in the Pro-Am category, and John, I think you've caught up with the one and only Harry Wills.
Hello.
I have, and Harry, man, I cannot start this interview without asking you. Coming out of Ascari, and we're watching it, I believe, right now. You go full wheel lock, save that car. Tell me what's going on through your mind right now, or in that moment.
I think I said to the guys, I've binned it. I thought that was it. It's over. That was. So it kind of, obviously you've got your left, and I'm running one wing. I ran 2 in the last race. It was a little bit more stable. I ran 1 in this one. And I thought I'll be all right, because I needed a bit more in the straights to keep up with Ethan. And I've kind of gone into that left, and it's like, oh, okay, little wiggle. Every lap it was a little wiggle. You've got to get it settled. Went into the right, and then just as I was about to load it up back to the left on the last part of Ascari, it just caught, and I was like, oh, hello. And then when I obviously put the left lock on to come into the left part of it, the last part of it, she just went at a funny angle. It was great fun. That was wicked, yeah. Ken Block style stuff. I think Jeremy was behind me, Jeremy Littleton, and he said that was some Ken Block stuff there. I was like, yeah, no, I don't know how I saved that. That was luck. There was zero skill in that because all I did was throw the wheel all the way to one side, get my feet off of everything, and pray.
Harry, I'll tell you this: I drive sprint cars in this iRacing deal a whole lot, and I'm sideways a lot in those cars. I am never ever have that much wheel in a car and not bin it. So that was just an incredible save. But let's move on from that though a little bit here and talk to me about your races tonight. What did you see, and what more did you need maybe to get to the top spot of the podium there?
You know what? Really, I pushed really hard just before the stop, clawed some time back in, felt pretty good because that as much as that moment there hurts you from time in the actual moment, what it also does is completely destroys your back tyres, puts them at a temperature where they're not optimal at all. So then you're going into corners fighting the back end, and I think I went into the last corner and it was just all over the place. So it's not just the time you lose in the actual moment; it's the time that you've then got to manage your tyres to pull them back into optimal temperature so they push. So managed to pull it back together in that bit before the pit stop, but then missed my pit stop, so I had to reverse back, which knackered that, and then I overfueled by 6 or 7 litres, so that didn't help. So I kind of lost, I think it was like 6 or 7 seconds in the pits. If I hadn't have had that, I might have had a go at them. Kyle was really quick. Show about Ethan having a moment there at the end as well. That's a shame for him because there's actually only 2 points in it after the first race tonight. So that I'd have just pulled a bit more on that. I think there'd be about 4 or 5 points in it now. So it was really good. Running in the EU race, exactly the same setup. Felt like I had a lot of pace. I think I won the first race of the 2 in the EU series. Just a lot of good battles. It's getting to the point in the season where people are really starting to, really push, really drive defensive, and then that's where things are going to go a little bit south, like with obviously Kyle and Chase's little incident earlier, and I tried to give my teammate a little bump. That went well. As poor Kyle ended up ending his race. So you've got to just maximise every little thing, and it's getting to that point of the season where people are looking at the points charts, going, I need to pull a bit more in. Yeah, it's good fun.
Well, with your prediction in mind, we're going to Nordschleife next week. What are your thoughts heading there, and what do you expect?
Well, in the EU series, when we ran it, I think it was the first round of the EU series, I made all of half a lap. So, God knows. Absolutely God knows. I mean, you can be out there with one hand on the wheel and a drink and thinking everything's fine around Nordschleife, and it will just completely bite you. You take the same corner you've done 100 times. If you've got 2 mile an hour more on there, then it's over. But I think the Ford will be a series. I think Ethan's got his work cut out. Mercedes will be strong. Lamborghini might be quite strong until it hits the straight, because I don't think it's got much in the straights at the minute. But I think Ethan's got the hardest job out of all of us for next week. But yeah, I'll have a go at that one. I might do well. Who knows?
Well, we look forward to seeing you. And Harry, thank you so much for putting this series on and everything else, and coming to talk to us here. And man, we can't wait to see how this thing shakes out here over the next few weeks. It's going to be an exciting one for sure. And with that, I'm going to step back here and kind of let you have the floor. And who would you like to give a shout out here to?
First and foremost, every single driver that comes and supports the series. It wouldn't be a series without drivers. So everyone that takes part, everyone that comes and races with us, absolutely, can't say thank you enough to them. It's like I said, there's no show without drivers. So people that turn up, massive appreciation. Thank you very much. Hopefully you enjoy your racing with us. And obviously everybody else, Dean, Taylor, various other people that do work, Stuart, who do work with all the protests and the admin side of things and that all Yawn Fest stuff. And also you guys as well that put on the broadcast, put the show on. I do tend to watch them back as and when, but I'm quite looking forward to watching these 2 rounds back, actually.
Yeah, you'll hear me. I was gonna say you'll hear me lose my mind about 3 or 4 times. This race was bonkers, man.
Yeah, it was a mad one. I mean, but that's what it's going to be. You know, like I said, people are looking at the championship standings and they're going to go, "Oh, I'm only 2 or 3 points behind third. I want to creep that gap in." And that's where you see people going for moves that maybe they wouldn't have gone for on round 2 or round 3. But you know, it's part of championship racing. It's good fun, and yeah, long may it continue. So no, thank you very much for you guys for putting it on, and let's see how it pans out. 4 rounds left after today, and some really tricky tracks in there.
Absolutely. Well, you have a good week, Harry, and hopefully we talk to you next week and more down the road too.
Yeah, you too, guys. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Yep. That's Harry Wills, guy that runs the league and also had a pretty good finish here tonight. A couple and still had probably the save of the year in my opinion. So, Austin, I need some oxygen, man.
That was an absolute crazy race there, John. I was pretty surprised just with the absolute insanity that happened. Definitely, you said it was going to be one of the most exciting races, and I figured, you weren't exactly right, but you weren't going to be wrong. I figured we'd probably have like a second or a third, but this was the most bonkers race we've had all season long. I think that was definitely the most impressive save I've ever seen at Monza out of Harry, and
not just Monza, anywhere.
Yeah, completely agree. I think if this is anything like we're going to see a week from now at the Nürburgring, we're in for quite the treat.
Absolutely, and and Harry made a good point there. Now is the time of the year or season, should I say? Guys are watching those points, and it's just going to continue to ratchet up because now you're losing time to make up any points on the guys in front of you. So, I expect the next few weeks here to just completely continue to see things ratchet up anyway.
Yeah, completely agree. But that's the end of our program for tonight. On behalf of myself, Austin Belke, my co-commentator, John Hine, and our director and producer, Daniel Costello, and everyone else behind the scenes, including you, thank you so much for watching, and good night.